just a reminder, this is sort of a non-political kind of event. I'm hoping to make it that way. But that doesn't mean we can't gripe a bit about government. And we'll do a little bit of that. And just a word a bit about the elections coming up next fall. The city doesn't even make those campaign packets available till the end of February. You know, a lot of the candidates for mayor, city council won't be submitting until March, maybe into April. They all have to have signatures on petitions. Those aren't due until July. And you know, the primary is August 26th, I believe, on a Tuesday. Then a lot of the campaign forums won't happen until early August. So there's a lot of time for politicking, and you will have fun. I'll have fun at it. In the meantime, I'm going to do my thing. You know, we moved to Havasu about a quarter century ago, and having studied architectural drafting in college, I decided to build a couple of houses, and it turned into 500 homes here in Havasu in the past 20 years. And I think I can tell you that for the most part, those are good paying jobs. I feel like I know something about creating and making good paying jobs for Havasu. But I got irritated with some what I thought to be nasty stuff going on in government back about 20 years ago, which led to a number of audits, investigations, lawsuits, and a lot of published articles. And I formed a nonprofit corporation called Manager Review, specifically at that time to review the actions of a city manager and his finance director. And you might remember the guy, you know, the one that used his city credit card to pay for a DUI fine. And Kingman, your tax dollars at work. How do you like that? Right here, right here. I took some time off from those, and it's funny, but it wasn't funny. And you know, that kind of stuff happens in government, and people weren't watching. I had a group of 3 guys came to me that had a lot of receipts, a lot of documents. I built a website, put all that material on there. It took a while, but ultimately that city manager and that city finance director, our town, did face felony charges. But over the past few years, I also took 8-9 years off to work in that university project. That turned out pretty good, didn't it? That was an effort well worth my time. My wife and my daughter preferred that kind of civic activity to the audits and investigations because it's more positive. But to be honest, I like the conflict. I like the investigations. I like writing about stuff that needs to be written about because it's out there and needs to be exposed. I'm good at doing that. Over the past couple of years, I've been looking at some of the issues in our own city government, cause for concern. I've summarized some of them in a series of 13 fact-based articles. Those articles, if you pick them up on my internet site or if you get them from an email, you'll find everything documented with live links. So you can go do your own fact checks. You can click on every one of those live internet links and go to the source document. You can go to a city council meeting. If you want to know where the first discussion came up on increasing sewer city fees, I've got that live link on that article. It's on my website. You can go and read it for yourself. That's one of the unique ways that I find in publishing the way I do. A lot of it's internet-based because you can document your sources. I can give you an opportunity to go do your own fact checks. Now, just to make sure everyone understands my most fundamental goals in this project. It starts with my intention to put all of the key issues before the voters next November, before you, give you an opportunity, yes or no, on all of the key issues. The mayor and the city council did not want those issues on the ballot. They stopped me dead. I filed a lawsuit. It's on the website. Harvey Jackson's the attorney for that. He knows a little bit about city government, and he's really good with the municipal type lawsuits and some of those that I've filed against the county over the past several years. In a nutshell, I believe you should be able to make a decision, a yes or a no, on a ballot to stop sewer fees tied to water usage, or keep them if that's your preference. But at least I'm trying to get you the right to that vote. Right now, the city has me stopped. It's in a lawsuit. I'll probably lose that lawsuit. I'll appeal it to the appeals court. If I lose it there, I'll take it to the state Supreme Court. I do not give up. I am relentless. Some people say that relentless son of a bitch. I do not give up. And I believe you should have a vote for paying the bonds through multiple sources of fees and taxes rather than the present monthly billing type. I think you deserve a yes or a no vote on that. Doesn't make any difference what I think. What I believe is that you deserve the vote. I believe you should be able to stop or continue, if you wish, the tax rebates to these big multinational corporations. $25 million to date, according to an article in today's News Herald. I think you should be able to say a yes or a no to that. And a no to that tells me you want the city to put that money into into paying down that sewer bond vote. That sewer bond as it is. So this is what we've got. At the time that was passed in 2001, it was the largest municipal bond vote in the history of this state. From our little town, that was it. And as a result, you are carrying a debt load that's double that of a normal town. Your sewer rates are double that of a normal town. And you can find that in Fitch ratings. They do the analysis of the city finance documents. If you log on those articles on my website, you'll get the live links. You can go to that report and read it for yourself. It's all there. And today's News Herald, in an editorial just a couple of months ago, suggested that a 1-cent sales tax hike could generate $10 million in a year, which could be used to pay down the sewer debt. I didn't say that. The editors of today's News Herald printed that suggestion. They also said you ought to have a right to vote on the option of multiple fees and taxes. Pay that down. I had another citizen send me an email that, Bill, do you realize 1 cent, 10 years, that's $100 million that would probably clear out that sewer debt with that kind of a rate, and that would pretty much get that turkey off your back. That's not for me to say or advocate. What I want out of the lawsuits is for you to have the opportunity to say yes or no to those kinds of proposals. So I'm demanding, I'm suing, I'm complaining, I'm writing articles, so help me, I'm going to try to get that done. Now for the question to you. Do you want the right to vote on these issues?
Yes.
Well, we do have a like-minded group of people here. I kind of expected that. The mayor and the city manager have been to Washington looking for ways to refinance sewer bonds to 40 years from the present 20 and 30 years. And I read in one article, I think it's true, that there's an EPA regulation or a section of federal law which prohibits the 40-year bonds, municipal sewer bonds. So that means there'd have to be an act of Congress of some kind to change that. That's my understanding. I think it's right. And then I don't quite see from some of the emails that I've gotten that the Democrats in the Senate, and especially the one in the White House, is going to send Lake Havasu City much of anything, including a warm bucket of spit if the whole town was on fire. I mean, this is a hotbed of Tea Party people, you know, calling for Obama's impeachment. I don't see any salvation coming from Washington. Anybody think we're going to get anything from Washington here? God, it ain't going to happen. But still, you know, I've got my opinions on it. I've certainly seen a lot of emails on it. But my objective with the lawsuit, my objective with most of those articles, is to somehow force that vote on the November election. Give you a yes or a no, an up or a down. Do you want 40-year bonds and the added debt, probably $60 million?
No.
Well, a lot of the people that would say yes are here. Recognize that. You know, we're a like-minded group of people, no question about that. Slightly biased. I mean, you're my kind of people. We're all thinking and talking about the same sorts of things, but that's what I think we ought to be talking about. And then we have the city spending priorities. A lot of people think the excess money we're collecting as the economy improves ought to be used to pay down the sewer bonds and get that turkey off our backs. But we've got a mayor and a city council that put $250,000 in a no-bid contract to clean stones out of Rotary Park Beach. Can you believe that? And what did we spend for our new parking lot? $750,000. Who knows what it's going to cost to finish that lot? I've got a public records request on it. I'm working on it, but I don't have all the detail yet. But it seems to me like there's another question. What are our spending priorities? Are you going to spend the money we have available to pay that debt down? Just get that turkey off our back. You are carrying double the load of a normal town with that sewer bond. Now let's go back and talk about that for just a minute. For those of you who were here 30, 35 years ago, you wonder who's the enemy. Look in the mirror. You. We could have had 95% federal funding for this sewer project way back then. We didn't have the leadership. We didn't have the people with a frame of mind to do that. You got to ask yourself, what's the real cost of cheap? Pretty darn expensive, isn't it? Phoenix took the federal money back then. Their monthly fixed rate is $20.70 a household a month. You could have had that. No sense crying over spilled milk. It's done. We didn't have the leadership. We didn't have the consensus within the community at that time. We're stuck with a bill. We got to pay it. And no way were we going to get out of that. 30 million people drawing water out of that lake and out of that river downstream from 2 states. No way were they going to let Havasu get anywhere near polluting that water source. Politically, you had no choice. You could have delayed it a little bit, and Bullhead City did, But they ended up with some outrageous connection fees. I think it's $5,000 or $7,000 a household, and they are under a legal edict from the EPA and the state ADEQ. They can't do anything with their sewer system without the state and federal government involved. We escaped that because you all passed, many of you passed that 2000 vote at a rate that's unheard of in a bond or a tax election. 78% of the voters turned out for that. 78%. That doesn't happen anywhere. And it passed by a ratio of 4 to 1. 78% pass ratio. Unheard of. So the town got together, bit the bullet, and so this is what we've got. Can we fix it? Can parts of it, can we improve it? You bet. And I covered a lot of the main issues. Fix that rate tied to water usage. Getting you out of town in the middle of the desert, with sewer rates tied to water usage. How crazy can you get? Get rid of it. That's my guess. If it gets on the ballot, if the city will allow me to do that, it'll pass by probably 95% to 5, because that's the polling that I've got on it. Everyone seems to be in agreement with that. So city spending priorities are a concern. That's a civic issue. Right now it's not political, but you and I have First Amendment rights. We can gripe about this government. We can complain about this government. We can either go so far as to suggest you ought to throw the bums out. That's not political. That's just getting a little aggressive as civic activists go. Because what the heck, if that's what you want to say, if that's what you want to advocate, go ahead and do it. The city council vacant seats and how they got filled with the Nyberg and Borelli resignations. Let me chat about that. Friends of the mayor's wife, Chamber of Commerce insiders, got appointed to those 2 vacant seats. Mayor's wife ran for a seat in the council, so there's 3 of them right there. Today's News Herald had excellent coverage of that, and they brought that home loud and clear. I think the news headlines were something of the fact, 2 resignations, no voter say. And the one young reporter did an excellent article on that, laid it all out. He says, what are your options? We are a general law city, and the power, the political power under a general law city rests with that mayor and that city council. You can't do much of anything unless you write a constitution. Our country has a constitution. Our state has a constitution. 19 cities in Arizona have constitutions. They're called charters. Okay? Quartzsite is a general law city. You want to be like Quartzsite? We're a general law city. You have some choices here. You have an opportunity at some point in time, to create a real constitution which gives a lot of political power back to the voters, back to the people. And that last time it was tried, 20, 25 years ago, it passed initially by a 2-to-1 margin. It passed, but the group that put together the draft charter got a little bit controversial about it, a little bit creative, and the voters rejected that by 800 votes. I looked at all that. I read every one of the 19 charters in this state. Who is crazy enough to go read all 19 charters? I did. I read every one of them. I like Flagstaff. I wrote a draft. It's on my website. It even includes the Singer Tax Initiative, because I'm convinced the Singer Tax Initiative requires a 2/3 vote of the city council to increase or any tax or to create a new tax. And I like it. It's in my draft. But take a look at that. Talking about unfinished business, we've got a bit of work to do. The patronage and oligarch issues that I've raised, I think would not be possible with a charter. In my opinion, based on half the charter cities in Arizona have 2-year terms for mayors. They do that to constrain the political power that one person can gather in a general law type city. So I think that's something we could work on. But I've covered some of the issues that I want to cover. I think for a town hall, we've got a half hour left. It's my hope that you can have an opportunity to speak and question one another and get a dialogue going. Joe, you got the portable mic right there.
I really like your enthusiasm, and I do believe what you are saying, and I am right behind you. Good luck to you.
Do you know the percentage of homes in the city that are owned by people who are not legal residents of Arizona?
No, I haven't a clue. I haven't been asked that question.
The reason I ask,
Yeah, I don't know.
it's pretty obvious. I'm one of those, and I have no say in how the city is run. I can't vote. I can't vote for any of these questions.
Yeah, if you are a resident anywhere in the United States for 29 consecutive days, on the 30th day, you can register to vote in that town. And you can get a mailed absentee ballot if you're not here in the summertime. And when you're done with that election, you can change back to where you were before. If you're at that town for 29 consecutive days, you can go change your place of voting. That's a fact. You have rights. You have the ability to do that.
My question to you is, would the charter allow for term limits for the mayor and city council? Because right now, we don't have term limits.
The only way you can get term limits is through a constitution, a charter. General law cities can't do that because of state laws. And that's why some political figures in general law cities don't want a charter. Now, most of the charter cities have term limits. God bless them, they've got term limits, like a 2-year term for mayor. Surprisingly, I read every one of them, all of the charter cities have 4-year terms for city council members. But half of those charter cities, because of problems past and present, have put a 2-year term on the mayor's office, and they limit all of the elected officers typically to 2 consecutive 4-year terms, and usually 2 or 3 consecutive 2-year terms for mayors. But term limits are possible. You gotta have a constitution to do that.
This is somewhat on point, I hope. What are your thoughts on the sustainability of the HAT in town? Do you feel it could be, or something you might be close to?
I've looked a little bit of that. I have right now a public records request before the city. I'm going to look at everything. And I got a couple of people, including Sherm right here. You're an expert on that. Sherm.
If you look at the News Herald article a couple weeks ago, they forecast they had 3 options. Those 3 options were the person would had 70,000 riders, it was $1 million plus, and that amounted to, we are paying everybody that gets on that bus, we're not paying them, but we're paying for them $18.
Yeah.
And the second option is about the same. They've got a third option, and the $18, half of that is federal funding, and the other half is city funding. And the third option they had was with no federal funding, and that raised to $30 per ride. So when, and I'm not sure I believe the 70,000 riders, kind of makes you think.
But I have a public records request filed. Generally, the city has been pretty good at honoring those because I got a good attorney. That's why. And I'm willing to spend the money on an attorney. If they jerk me around, I will get the facts on that. I'm going to turn it all over to Sherm. He's good. He's served on a couple of city committees. He understands municipal, the inside workings of it, and we'll try to get to that. But you know, you can get a taxi, a shuttle for $6, for $6. I've had some emails suggesting we'd be way better off to scrap the whole transit system and just give seniors and the handicapped people and the people that are low income or people that need the help somehow, give them $6 and let them ride to private and pocket the rest of it, maybe put it toward the sewer bond or something, save a buck. Yeah, go ahead.
Bill, just a quick one. You mentioned that you figure that you're going to lose the lawsuit. Why are you saying that? What's your reasoning behind that?
Every lawsuit I've ever filed against the government, I've lost. Every one of them. So help me God, they've got it stacked against you. We did a recall election on 3 MCC board members. Verified every signature on the petition. It went to the county elections office. They rejected it for lack of adequate number of valid registered voter signatures. And you know, they jerked me around to the point where it was too late. The election was a couple months down. I could have taken it to appeals. I could have taken it to the Supreme Court. Didn't have time to get it done. I'm not doing that again. If I get caught in another one of those situations, I'm going to appeals court. I don't care when the election is. But yeah, I lose every one of them, but I also win. When I filed a lawsuit against the county on gerrymandering voter districts, we had voter districts in Mojave County that had disparities as big as 37%. The state constitution laid a maximum of 10%. I lost that. I took it to the appeals court, lost it. And I was ready to go to Supreme Court. It got fixed. They would not admit to being wrong. They would not submit to a court decision, but it got fixed. So listen, there's a philosophy to this. You can win by losing, but don't give up the fight.
Bill, who are they? Who beat you? Not the government?
Oh yeah, the county government, the county elections department on that recall. Oh yeah, crooked as hell. Unbelievable. I wake up about once a month, I'll wake up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and that runs through my mind. I said, I'll forever be irritated with it. Hey, I wake up in the morning, I take a shot of HGH and a Viagra, and at lunchtime I take another Viagra and a shot of vitamin B, and I'm telling you, I'm ready to go every day. My wife thinks I'm nuts too. Yeah, on the $5 million. That was the Sewer Rate Stabilization Fund. There's a late arrival, architect Jerry Clark. Come on in, Jerry. That's a Sewer Rate Stabilization Fund. And I've written a couple of articles. If you go click the link on Fitch Ratings. That's the bond rating outfit that rates bonds everywhere in the country. They look at our financials. They have a section on that. That was set up by previous administrations for purposes of stabilizing the sewer fee increases. Now, Councilman Dennis Schilling from a couple of years back wanted to use that rate stabilization fund to help pay down the sewer bond debt. Not a bad idea. Harvey Jackson advocated that. Don't extend the bonds, don't take on more debt, pay that turkey down early. And that was the $5 million that Nixon And it's in it's in the minutes of a city council meeting. I've got a live link on it in that article. You can go read it yourself. Nixon instructed the city staff to sweep that money out that budget year. So what did they do with the $5 million bucks? Yeah, it was that no bid contract for cleaning stones out of $250,000 contract out of Rotary Park and a bunch of other stuff. So they got their priorities. They just aren't our priorities. Okay?
Bill, what is the structure of charter government versus what we have today? For example, today, the city council has direct authority over the city attorney, the city manager, and I think it's the magistrate. That's it. Everything else is dealt through and handled by the city manager. Can charter city government be different than that?
Yes, it can, if that's what you want, because it is a constitution. And the constitution has to be written and ratified by the voters. But after I read all 19 city charters in this state, the one I liked the best was Flagstaff, because their government structure there is a lot like what ours is right now. Okay, and I thought that'd be comfortable for people. It's not a big change. It's relatively minor adjustments. But what's important about the Constitution is once you have it, you all can get together and go back by vote and amend it. You can improve it, you can change it, and that's scary to the people in control of government. That is scary. Give you that much authority over your governance, that's scary. But we've got a constitution for our country. We got a constitution for our state. We got 19 cities with constitutions. Why can't we have a constitution? That's the question. Go ahead.
Bill, you keep talking about the Fitch ratings.
Yeah.
I did some research, and for the people that don't know about Fitch, they're one of the 3 companies in the country that have the security exchange blessings. And if Standard & Poor's is one of the other ones. So, you know, they're good heavyweight people. Anyway, I think we all needed to know that, and I did check that out.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. A little bit of debate. I guess the mayor was on Speak Out the other day, and Evan, I heard from Peter that he says there never was a plan to increase sewer rates, and there never will be. Small problem with that. I've also given you a link to a city council meeting in which city manager Charlie Casson says there's going to be a need for a 3% rate increase. And I found a link to Fitch Ratings report, which interviewed city staff, got all their financial documents, and they said, well, the city's got a 6% sewer rate increase scheduled for fiscal year 2014. It's a matter of public record. They don't lie. Fitch doesn't lie. It's out there. Okay, but I got the feeling, though, my squeaky wheel is getting some grease, because now the mayor's saying here and there's going to be no sewer rate increase. So let's chalk one up for a win there. Well, I'll take that, and I'll have a beer to that maybe here after a while. But, you know, I also have an email from Charlie Cassens just 2 weeks ago. This plan to refinance the bonds to 40 years is the basis for their ability, and I'll share that email with any of you, to avoid a sewer fee increase. So in other words, if they don't get those 40-year bonds, you're going to get a sewer fee increase. And the city manager has total authority to do that. You have no rights. You have no rights to challenge that because it's an administrative function. Already lost one of those arguments in court. But this is the way government works. They will give that authority to a bureaucrat because it becomes an administrative process and not a legislative process. And under our state constitution, you can't challenge that in court. You can't take it to a voter referendum. That's what we've got right there.
Is tar and feathering illegal? It needs to be American right. Yeah.
Nah, it's called throw out the bums. That's the way I just throw out the bums. You know, elections have consequences. And that in every election has consequences, but you have choices. Everybody has choices. And, well, we're not going to get political here today because someone will file a complaint against me about getting political. But I do have 2 nonprofit corporations that are publishers. I am an investigative reporter. I belong to a society of investigative reporters, and I belong to the Institute for Justice. So I'm a publisher. I have rights under the free press. I can say pretty much what I want, including advocating for the election of certain people or against their election. I can do that. I can endorse candidates and not be subjected to the laws and regulations on campaign financing. I can do that, but I'm not. You know, I'll leave that to you. I'll write some nasty articles, but I will avoid for a while the political stuff. Anybody else? Well, if we're at about that time, we've got, and we're pretty much on target. We've got some refreshments, have a beer, have a wine, and just kind of mix and chat with one another and share some ideas and concerns and some plans of what you intend to do. Thank you all.